Welcome back to Daily Flash. I'm Riesa, Pascal. Stress eating, we've all done it, right? But how can we not let it destroy our healthy journey? Well, here to tell us about how we can not stress over our diets is a nutrition expert and author of the book, Why Diets Fail, Dr. Nicole Avena. Dr. Nicole, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, and we actually have a copy of the book with us, Why Diets Fail. Now, you are a neuroscientist, which is so impressive. I'm a little intimidated, I have to say. But how has your time as that kind of given you insight into why we stress eat?
Well, you know, one of the biggest things I think as a neuroscientist for me has been really better understanding how big of a role our brain plays in what we eat. I think people often think, oh, we eat because our gut's telling us we're hungry, but our brain is actually driving the car here. And so I think that's, to me, one of the more interesting aspects of the work that I've been doing is really just, these different aspects of the brain and how they influence what we eat.
Right. And then just needless to say, I mean, these past few years, this world has gone through a very tumultuous time, to put it lightly. So we've been through a lot, and I think that can play into it as well. How do people kind of turn to food to cope?
Yeah, so stress-induced eating, I think, we all have stressors, right? Stress is a part of being human, and we're designed to be able to usually cope with them in ways so that, bad things don't happen. We can get out of dangerous situations if we need to. And I think what's happened is that, we have a lot of stressors in our life, whether it's family stress, work stress, concerns about our health, all of these things mount up. And a lot of times people end up turning toward food as a way to cope, because when you eat a lot of these processed foods that have lots of added sugars, they can make you feel better. They can temporarily relieve some of that anxiety and stress that we feel. And normally it might be okay to do that once in a while, and some might say, oh, it's better than using drugs or alcohol to cope with stress. But over time, it really can negatively impact your health.
Honestly, it could be just as dangerous as those things if you use it too much, like you're saying, impacting our health.
Absolutely, and that's what we're seeing now, especially among children. I think, we're seeing this growing epidemic of obesity among young children, and to the point where the American Pediatric Association has put out new guidelines very recently, talking about how, exercise and lifestyle changes are important, but they're also recommending pharmaceutical interventions and surgery even to combat obesity in children. And so I think, we're seeing a lot of stress-induced eating happening among these younger groups, and that's contributing to this problem with obesity.
What are the triggers that we should be looking out for?
Well, I think you want to really be mindful about when you're eating something, why you're eating it, right? Asking yourself a question, am I eating this because I'm actually hungry, or am I eating this because it's going to make me feel good? So there's actually two different types of hunger. There's hedonic hunger, which is that hunger that we experience when we want to feel pleasure, and then there's actual hunger, which is the hunger where you need calories or nutrients, right? And so it's very important to ask yourself, is this hedonically driven hunger, or is this hunger that I actually need to support my body?
That seems like such a simple question. And
it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I mean, but we do have to check ourselves, what you're saying. That's the most important thing.
I think absolutely. I think, constantly asking yourself, are you really hungry? Is this the best choice of a food to eat in this particular situation? And I think when you kind of reflect, a lot of people do this through keeping a food journal or a log. That's a great way to kind of, get a better big picture of what you're eating and why you're eating it.
Nice. And then just coming back to your book, Why Diets Fail, what is the key takeaways that we're going to take away when we read this?
Well, one of the big focuses I have in this book is talking about how a lot of times people eat for stress-induced reasons, and that can actually lead to this cycle of an addiction, where people get addicted to highly processed foods that have lots of added sugars. And we see changes in the brain that happen when people overeat these types of foods, and they're so popular these days and common in our environment, it's pretty easy to overeat them.
Absolutely.
And so being mindful about, if you're falling into this spiral of addiction to food is also something to be on the lookout for.
Absolutely. Where can we get a copy of Why Diets Fail?
So this is available wherever books are sold. You can get it on Amazon. Also on my website, if you're interested in signed version of it, they're available there.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Avena.